beef, pork, chicken or lamb, barley, wheat, canola and fruit. Whatever you're farming, you've come to the right place. This is No Drama Farmer with James Blundell and Carwin. All thanks to Boakman Machinery, the home to New Holland and Case IH. Looking for machinery to last? Check out boakmans.com.au. No Drama Farmer. Thanks to Boakman Machinery.
Welcome to No Drama Farmer. My name's Carwin with James Blundell. James, good morning, mate. How are you?
And good morning to you. How are things in the West, my friend?
Mate, not too bad. Can I share an anecdote with you out of the blogs?
Absolutely.
So I stayed in Perth on the weekend, and I had occasion to go back to the Central Wheat Belt on Saturday morning to do some photography of a local farmer's farm. They're called the Byfield family. They're very well known in Northam. And we had some pretty heavy rain here on Friday night. I'm still actually coming to you from Perth. I reckon we probably had 30 or 40 mils. And so I went out to their property, and you know how people on the land, you do the introductions, and it takes about sort of 8 seconds before you start talking about rain.
It is literally, that's 100% right.
I said, oh, did you guys have any rain last night? And they're like, no. Oh, we had about 30 or 40 mils. It just got really awkward. It was really awkward.
It's one of the cardinal sins because it's a classic FOMO and rain envy. And particularly, we all went through it in the 2018-2019 drought. If your neighbour, and there were some little narrow storms went through, if they got 5 mil and you got nothing, you would actually take it quite personally. I mean, the most ridiculous situation. Well, what do they do to deserve rain? Well, they didn't do anything, idiot. It's just how it happened, and it's like the whole lottery thing when you don't win a cent and somebody's won $20 million and you get upset.
I do, mate.
Why bother?
That annoys me. Every time I check my ticket, I'm like, why couldn't it just be me just once? But it's, there's almost, I'm not saying that emanated from the Byfields, but there's almost a little bit of, well, of course, you're in the city. Stuff like that happens in the city. You don't appreciate it. Well, it's just, yeah.
Correct.
So it was very awkward. In fact, what we're going to do is we're going to catch up with Jessica Lingard from the Bureau of Meteorology in just a sec. Also, today we've got a special guest. His name is Chef John Mountain. He's from Fire Restaurant. He's a very well-known chef. He's actually worked with Heston Blumenthal and some of the greats. So we're going to catch up with him in a sec and actually find out how to cook the perfect steak. But let's check your weather. Let's do this.
Consult your most recent local weather forecast before undertaking seeding, harvesting, or anything weather dependent.
And it's over to the Bureau of Meteorology. Jessica Lingard, happy Monday.
Happy Monday to you as well.
Where's the weekend gone? It just flies past.
I don't know. I think it's something to do with aging. There's some sort of time warp. I'm not sure.
Time-space continuum, whatever. It was a bit rainy in Perth on the weekend. I stayed in Perth over the weekend.
Yeah, look, it was. So late last week we saw our west coast trough that was driving some sort of slightly warmer conditions down into the southern parts. We saw that develop up to a cloud band with the assistance of a mid-level system, and that has slowly moved eastwards across the weekend. It is now Monday the 14th of April, and that cloud band is sitting through the eastern parts of the wheat belt, moving slowly into the Goldfields and Esperance area. Over the last sort of 48 hours, the best falls have been down around the Esperance area, with Munglenup picking up just around 120 millimetres. Hyden's picked up almost 50. Lake King just picked up over 40 millimetres. Ravensthorpe's picked up nearly 30 millimetres. So there have been some good falls around. They have been mostly associated with those thunderstorms, though. So if you managed to grab a thunderstorm over the top of you, you probably did okay. As we scooched a little bit further to the west, we do see those falls being a lot lower. Because this cloud band formed up with assistance from the mid-levels, it actually sat quite high above the ground. So the clouds were quite high in the sky, which means that a lot of the the rainfall that was falling out of it was actually evaporating before it reached the ground. So some areas have done well, others have missed out to some degree. Now, as that system continues to push eastwards, going to clear up really quickly. So as we get into tomorrow, Tuesday, the 15th of April, fairly dry day across the board. And that is going to be our story as we continue to go through the rest of this week. We might see some showers and some storms popping up later in the week for the Goldfields and the Euclid district, but probably not going to see too much around the Central Wheatbelt and the Great Southern specifically. We're also going to see these milder temperatures hanging around as well. So Dalwallanu today for Monday, 27 degrees. It's going to get as warm as 29 degrees by Wednesday, but then down to 22 degrees on Friday. If you're in Narrogin, 24 degrees today, hanging around the low 20s all the way through. And if you've got the Easter Bunny visiting you across the weekend, conditions are looking dry and mild as well, which is great for both the hunt collection and the eating temperature.
Absolutely. I've got a question for you. I had occasion to be in the Central Wheatbelt shooting the Byfields farm over the weekend, taking some photos. And I mentioned to them that I stayed in Perth the night before and we had some pretty decent rain. And they said we had dry storms. They had a storm and no rain.
Yes.
How does that work?
So that goes back to what I mentioned, that these clouds were sitting so high above the ground that all of the rainfall evaporates, or a large majority of the rainfall actually evaporates, and you end up with what we call dry thunderstorms. So basically, thunderstorms in the absence of rainfall. There was rainfall, it just all evaporated into the atmosphere. And these dry thunderstorms can be a bit of a risk, especially this time of year, coming out of summer when the environment is so dry. You get these bolts of lightning with no rainfall around. They can pose a significant bushfire risk. So they are something that we do need to watch out for, but unfortunately, has meant that not too much rainfall manages to get down where it's needed.
All right, I've got another question for you too. And we're about to speak to Chef John Mountain. He's from Fire. Going to ask you this, Jess. How do you cook the perfect steak? We're going to ask Chef as well, but I'm going to ask you.
You ask someone qualified to do it, because otherwise you're just never going to get it right. I think step one, get a good cut, and then take it from there.
Yeah, I think she's right. That's Jessica Lingard. She's from the Bureau of Meteorology. Today is the 14th of April and 2025. So if you're undertaking seeding, harvesting, or anything weather dependent, please check your local forecast. Jessica Lingard, thanks for joining us on No Drama Farmer.
No worries at all. Thanks for having me again.
So there you go. It comes down to the perfect cut. And I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce Chef John Mountain. Mate, welcome to No Drama Farmer.
Good morning, Colin. How are you, sir?
James Blundell's here as well. Somewhere too. I can't.
Oh, excellent. Morning, James. How are you?
Very well, thanks, John. In sunny southeastern Queensland. Beautiful temperate weather at the moment.
Good man. Great place. Well done.
Chef, just straight out of the blocks, Jessica Lingard is a meteorologist. She's very good at reading the weather. But, mate, how important is the cut of meat to make a perfect steak? Like, is that right?
Do you know what? Jessica gave the perfect answer. That is it. It's the cut. It's the cut that counts. And to be honest, I've got to be frank on this. It's also where it's from. So it's the farm, it's where it's from, it's how it's bred, it's what it's been fed, it's how it's even slaughtered, you know what I mean? It has to be hung. The meat has to be on the bone 30 days minimum. That is it. But Jessica, spot on. Cut of meat.
Let's go back in time to around April 2024. People know you. You're Chef John Mountain. You're the famous sort of inverted commas anti-vegan chef. Mate, what actually happened?
Yeah, look, the thing is, Carwin, I'm not anti anything. I don't care whether you're black, white, gay, lesbian. Don't give a monkeys who you are. But whatever you do, don't try and damage my business or my family. As soon as that happens, Carwin, then that's it. So, look, we had a young lady. She sent me a private message. Hey, I'm coming in 3 weeks' time. I'm vegan. What can you do for me? I wrote back to her. I said, anything you want, my dear. You know, we change the menu every day. We can just put on a dish that everybody else will eat in the restaurant. So it's no big issue. What do you like? And she said, oh, I like risotto and I like gnocchi. I thought, for fuck's sake, neither of those are vegan for a start.
And they're awful.
You can't have a risotto without butter and all that beautifulness and the creaminess of the Parmesan cheese. And you can't have gnocchi usually without binding it with an egg. But yeah, okay, no problem. Gnocchi, risotto, that's it. The problem was, Carwyn, on the day, I had a big private party outside. I didn't tell my chefs. They didn't keep her happy. Then that was it. The following day, oh my God, she wrote me this private message again. You said you do this, you didn't. You said you do that, you didn't. And that was it. I felt really bad, genuinely, because I was at fault.
Yeah.
The problem was the second paragraph, Carwyn, that she wrote. And she said, this shows your shortcomings as a chef. This is 2023. You need to get the program. I'm like, fuck off. And then the final bit, which was the biggest insult, was this prep closed down and failed so many times, you're going to be the next one. Oh, Jesus Christ. I said, look, you know, when you first complained, you're correct, you know, and I felt very sorry for you. However, when you made it personal, there's only one thing to say, really. Fuck off and tell all your vegan mates to fuck off as well. And that's what I said. And that was quite fucking true. But the problem was, she then screenshotted that, Carwyn. She screenshotted the nice part of her and the nasty part of my response. And she put it on a vegan Facebook page.
Oh, no.
Oh, my God. I got inundated, smashed with one-star reviews. And these idiots, they were putting like, oh, he touches children. Oh, God. Just sick individuals. So, to be honest, that's what led me to say, from now on, all vegans are now banned. They're a pain in the arse anyway, to be frank. But now they're all banned. I didn't realize what I'd done, but apparently it's the first restaurant in the entire world to ban vegans. Fuck, I should have done it.
Brilliant.
I should have done it.
How do you cater for vegans? You just give them a plate of lettuce or something? What do you do, mate?
Well, we give them a lawnmower and tell them to fuck off outside and cut the road.
John, the most important part of this, there is no mention in the coverage that I'd read in research that you had specifically said, yeah, we can accommodate you. That's great, because that's a big thing to do. Anybody that knows anything about restaurant, I don't know how any of you do it. I don't know how you guess what people are going to eat. I don't know how you plan to have enough of anything and not too much of something. But it's amazing that it is now not okay to defend your position or opinion. You're just supposed to cop the flogging. And the first part of it is a vegan going to a notorious red meat restaurant. It is creating a situation that, I mean, she definitely handled appropriately in the first place, as did you. But the escalation afterwards is a bunch of people who are just itching to find something to pile on. And it's one of the great weaknesses of social media. And what's the old saying? Accusations page 2, retractions in amongst the sporting column. And the damage is very, very hard to repair, and particularly if they're going to go down the line of suggesting impropriety in your personal life. I mean, that's libel. That's on a public platform.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, and that's where we're at, James. Obviously, the beautiful WA vegan activist Tash Peterson then got involved because I got so much traction. I mean, we were front page of the New York Post, the Washington Times. I mean, front page. We were all over every national newspaper throughout Europe. My lawyer showed me that we were getting 16 million hits a day.
Chef, off the back of that, what has that done for your business? Did it destroy your business? What actually happened?
Look, the ridiculous thing was, I took a gamble, Carwyn, which was to stand by what I truly believe in, which is we should all have and be able to voice our own opinion 100%. It doesn't matter what opinion it is, but we should be able to hold it and voice it if we wish. But stick by your principles and your morals. Don't let some other tell you what they believe in and then try and convince you. You stand by what you believe in, and that's what I did. And Carwyn, by me standing by what I believed in, 98% of Australia's population were with me. The other 2%, well, you know, and that was it. So my business trebled overnight. And And in the great vegan activist words, I had to kill 3 times as many animals to try and support my customers.
Yeah, so they kicked an own goal,
Yeah.
didn't they?
It was an own goal.
Interesting, absolutely fascinating, and it's that look, the graphics on minorities, John, illustrated time and time again when it's all peeled back. 80% of the public are catering to 20 or less than 16% of the public's opinion because they have the time to sit there and voice. The rest of us are busy trying to make a living.
It scares the death out of me when I've talked to massive farmers, and we had the protest recently about the lamb situation. I'm just the live export thing. Don't get me started on that. I'm fuming that some weak ass government official has gone, oh, it's not right. These poor little sheep are getting killed. Fuck off, you toolbox. So instead of saying, look, guys, this is the minimum, this is what we require, each sheep per square meter, X amount, which is what should have been done. X amount of feed should have been done. I agree, they should have been transported safely, but don't ban live exports, you stupid twat. We're going to be importing lamb in the next 10 years from Arabic countries that don't give the monkeys about feed, quality, fodder, transport. We are going to be importing that. Australia was known for lamb. We're going to lose our whole industry because of some weak-ass politicians. Fucking idiots.
If we ban live sheep exports, another country is just going to step up and fill the gap. Again, it's an own goal for this country. I just don't get it.
Stupidity. Carwin's stupidity. It's because of these mediocre, as I say, weak-ass politicians that bow to the left so much that it's like, come on. It's the minority that have the loudest voice, exactly what Jim said. And it's not right. We've got to swing back. Let's try and get back in the middle somewhere. Stand on our own ground. Australia's great. I love Australia. I'm proud to have to pay a couple of $100,000 to fucking be in this country. But I'm grateful. I love I love Australia. And we need to stand by the
John, a series of queries, John. Mum was from Gloucestershire, and Dad went over to study Hereford cattle in Herefordshire. And his father's parting words as he disappeared from the dock on the ship was, "Don't bring home any live souvenirs," which he did. And she was here. It's an amazing woman. She was a war child. Watched the Battle of Britain take place above her head down near Kingswood in Gloucestershire. But she said that had it not been for her father's shotgun, their wartime experience would have been a great deal harder. Did you have any experience of it? There's always the question, if you excel at being a chef, it means you have a deep and abiding passion for preparation of food, but particularly meats in your case. Did you have any game experience, or did you what was the first time you thought, I want to be involved with presenting meat to people?
Mine started, James. Thanks. Great question, by the way. I mean, mine started from the absolution or the abhorrent cruelty to animals, to pigs. I don't want to get too personal, but I was abandoned as a child. I was left on a miserable mother. So I then look at all the bad doings in life, and I look at food. My grandmother fed me some of the greatest food in the world, a wartime again. And but I looked at the cruelty to animals. So my first book, pigs, because pigs, and especially Gloucestershire Old Spot is one of the state's rare breeds of pigs that we have in the UK. There's 14 rare breeds, and Gloucestershire Old Spot was one of the greatest ones ever. And it was just that fact that 20 years ago, James, pork belly was considered a really cheap, nasty cut.
Yeah, true.
And it was something that I put on my menus for 2 reasons. Number one, it was the best cut you could ever have. But number two, it was about $1 a kilo. It was like these people weren't it because they didn't know what to do with it. But that's what has then led me on, James. So to be honest, every animal that I put on my plate has to have had a bit of a decent life. You know what I mean? So I rarely put chicken on my menu in this country. Chickens are treated like shit in this country. So there's only a couple of farms here in WA that look after their birds. There's maybe 2 farms that look after them. But I won't do it. I just I don't like the idea of animals being mistreated for the sake of the consumption of the human.
Is that an altruistic standpoint, or is that because
No. No, it's
Oh.
not. He's echoing the sentiment of 80% of consumers now, and I'm sorry to jump in, Cohen, but it's absolutely relevant. I was talking to my 12-year-old daughter last night, who was she's either channeling Janis Joplin or Joan of Arc in varying phases, but we were talking about killing and butchering our own livestock on the property, and it was a fascinating perspective because there was an academic appraisal of the slaughter of a living animal, and then the academic appraisal of the dismembering of that animal, which was quite scientific. She was fascinated in the anatomy and found the dissemination of the organs a bit confrontational. Really, really cool conversation. But what came through it all from the mouth of the 12-year-old, there was no reaction to the concept of killing an animal to eat it, and actually a great deal more engagement knowing what that process was. And I'd be really interested in John's perspective on this, because as a producer, I'm finding more and more people are going to identifying the source of their product. I've spoken to the two local premier butchers, both here and in Warwick, which is 70 k's away. And the minute they table something branded local produce, it's gone. It will go within a matter of hours, and people will ring up and ask if they've got anything local in stock. And I think we're heading back to a much greater awareness of what it is to eat a living animal. There's a great deal of responsibility goes with it.
100%. I echo every sentiment there. It's knowing what to do with it. But what scares me is the skill levels that have dropped now, because the allowance of killing your own beast in this country is just, again, these political movements of local councils just pushing and forcing rules and regulations that really don't mean shit, that really do not. Just because some idiot down the road at his abattoir didn't quite scrub down his cool room perfectly, oh my God, it's not about that. And this is where we've gone. We've gone too far. The EHO came into my restaurant a few weeks ago, and she said, "Can you tell me how you make your tiramisu?" I went, "Fuck, you want my recipe? You buy the book, you miserable bitch." No, I didn't say that. That was in my head. I deleted it before it came out. I said, "Sure thing. I make a sabayon out of the yolk. I make a stick meringue out of the white. I do this, and fold it all together. That's it." She said, "What do you mean you're using raw eggs?" I went, "I've been doing it for 25 years, and I've always used raw eggs. That's dangerous. You can kill somebody." Fuck.
Yeah.
What? And so she said, "No, I can't do that anymore." She said the policies of our local council suggest and don't suggest. They state 24 hours to use raw eggs, and then you have to dispense of it. You have to throw it away. And it's the same with butchering. Sorry.
It sounds like over-regulation. Like, where is all of this being driven from? Because like you said, 20 or 30 years ago, that was quite fine. But now it's, now the sky's going to bloody fall down. Where's this coming from?
Look, it's called liability. Liability, I realise, in this country, God bless Australia, but nobody wants to stand up and put the balls on the table and say, "It's my responsibility." Everybody wants to go, "Oh, no, it's not me, it's him. Oh, no, it's her. No, it was her." Nobody wants to take liability, Carwin. Nobody wants to take liability. So if a customer came into my restaurant and they fell sick due to eating tiramisu for whatever reason, I've fucking no idea, and they complain to the council, and the council say, "Oh, well, we told him not to do it." You know what I mean? It's passing the buck until liability stands at one point. And the government, sadly, are not willing to hold liability. They're not willing to say, "My responsibility, I made that decision." Fucking weak.
And look, it's interesting, John, growing up on a farm. Good Lord, I was born in 1964, and I was 10 before we had electricity at 240 volts. We had kerosene refrigerators and a 32-volt power system run off a generator and a battery bank. And honestly, the shelf life of some of those things, particularly in winter here, you would have something you mentioned before when you're looking for a perfect cut of steak is 30 days minimum hang. A carcass would hang in the meat house for a week easily.
Yeah.
And there was just, and that was washed down with a hose, at the end of the kill. And I like you, I actually argue quite often with my fiance, who's an incredibly well-travelled, highly intelligent woman who'll ditch something on a use-by. And I've said to her time and time again, sweetheart, that is liability. That thing has been in a refrigerated environment for 5 days. It could be there another 6 weeks and you'll be absolutely fine. For God's sake, don't toss it.
Yeah, I'm the same.
James, can I just say this? Game birds, in the old days when I started in my profession as a cook, when I was in my early 20s, so we're talking about the late 80s, early 90s. We're very similar age. I was 67, baby. We used to hang game birds out the back door and wait until the maggots were under the wings.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Nice.
Imagine saying that now.
It's Carwyn, it's true. An absolute delicacy was a thing called jugged hare, and it was literally on the point of not putrefaction, but it was ripe, and that's what that term was used. It was that carcass is ripe and it's good to go.
I've got to ask you, Chef, in your opinion, what has Colesworth done to food?
What did you say?
Colesworth, mate, you buy meat and it's all grey and it's just thinly cut and just horrible. But mate, they seem to have destroyed food in this country. Like everything you buy from Colesworth, like tomatoes, lettuce, anything is just it's subpar. Like if we go back 20 or 30 years, we actually used to get decent food. But like, is this a deliberate thing? Like, it's paying the minimum price for absolute crap?
So it's not. It's not all about minimum prices. It's about their consistency and continuity. You know what I mean? So it's shelf life, vac pack, shelf life. They Colesworth, they've got to be able to put something on the shelf that can stand or sit there for a good few days before it's changed and turned. Because as soon as a bit of mince starts to go grey or brown, the consumer doesn't want to buy it. The craziest thing is, listen to this very simple analogy. If you were to cut your left arm off just below the elbow, what colour do you think that's going to be if you cut through the bone?
Oh, I'll just give it a try. Hang on.
Bright red's a pretty good guess.
It's going to be bright red, 100%. It's going to be bright red. Partly to do with the blood that runs through the veins, but also because of something called myoglobin. Myoglobin is the red protein shit that is in the muscle of the meat. And it's the same as whatever cattle, whatever carcass, whatever you are, that's what it is. But listen, after a while, that myoglobin begins to fade and starts to go to these grey colours and brown colours, etc. But I guarantee you on Earth, that is the best time to use something. That is the greatest time to cook something. I dry age meat all the time. I leave it for an extra 2-3 weeks open in my fridge so that it takes on. It's called a pellicule. We can use lots of clever, smart-ass words, but it just gives this crusting on the outside of the beef that is phenomenal. It's grey, browny. I get miserable bastard customers telling me, I wanted it medium rare, and it doesn't look medium rare. What, because it's not bleeding like the shitty steakhouse that you go to? This is 53 degrees, you fuck. It is cooked to perfection within an inch of its life. Don't fucking tell me it's not medium rare.
So if what you're saying is if I cut my arm off now, I shouldn't eat that for another 2 or 3 weeks? Is that what you're
Give it a couple of weeks, exactly.
Chef, can I ask you this? Yep. You run a successful restaurant, Fire in Connolly. You check it out. They're booked weeks and weeks in advance, thanks to vegan activists. Own gold there, guys. Where do you source your food for the restaurant? Surely not Colesworth.
No, look, there are. So I have 3 or 4 different meat suppliers because I've found that different meat suppliers specialize in different things. So I found, look, we've got to be really proud that Australia has won yet again best steak in the world. So we're not talking about this is local stuff. Queensland, a lot of great beef comes from over east, and to be honest, some of the best beef comes from over east. It's because they understand butchery. You've got better pastures as well. They eat green shit. It's called grass. They smoke it over on the west, but they grow it over in the east. It's so much better. So it's important that, the animal eats well. It's important that it's grown beautifully, and it's more importantly that it's butchered well and held well. So I do apologise. What was the question again?
Where do you source your produce from and meat? Is it like a Jamie Oliver style? You go around to the markets on a Saturday morning and, we'll take 2 of those capskins. You know what I mean?
Jamie fucking Oliver. Strangely enough, yeah, I do. Strangely enough, I've got to tell you this, and Tony Gallardi can pay me later, but I smash Spud Shed at 10 o'clock at night. But you can only buy veg from Spud Shed for the next 24 hours. It is shit any longer than that.
Sorry, Tony.
Shit falls apart. Yeah, no, it's true. Tony, I don't care. I'm telling you, and his son Anthony. I've had long conversations with them. Their veggies are good for 24 hours. And so what I do, Carwin, every day, well, Wednesday to Saturday, I take my missus and we wander around Spud Shed. Fucking 10 o'clock at night. Drives me insane. We see all the crackheads in Perth just all heading in there, trying to get past security guards. But the veggies are pretty good at 10 o'clock, but only good for the next day.
I've just got to just qualify that, James. You've probably never heard of Tony Gelati. He's I
have not.
He's a gentleman that owns a chain of supermarkets here called Spud Shed, and he's very well known for having one eyebrow, and he wears a cut off singlet. He drives an old ute, and I've actually met the guy back in the day when I worked for 96. I was on the radio, and he walked past my studio, and I sort of ran out and said, "Oh, mate, can I have a chat with you on the radio?" So I got talking to him. I put him on the radio, and we got to the end of the interview, and he goes, "Mate, what sort of potatoes are you into, mate?" And well, I don't really know. I don't know potatoes. And he's like, "Well, mate, do you do roasts? Like, what do you do?" And I was like, "Well, I do a lot of roasts." He's like, "Mate, I'll bring you a bag of spuds tomorrow." And the next day, he drives out the front of the radio station in his ute, like his old Nissan ute, and he brings me up a bag of spuds.
Hessian bag of spuds?
Yeah, he's
Probably 20 kilos.
He's a top bloke.
You're listening to No Drama Farmer.
Chef, I've got a couple of questions for you. We're going to get to how to do the perfect steak in a second, but the question on everybody's minds is, how do you cook rare, medium rare, well done? Mate, how do you do that? Like, how do you know when the steak is medium rare?
Look, James, Cohen, I'm sorry. I wanted to mention to James, Tony Gallardi, by the way, is phenomenal, because we had something called the Potato Commission in this country that then monopolized the growth of potatoes. And Tony Gallardi came along and went, "Fuck you lot, I'm going to give my potatoes away." And that's what he did.
He actually did.
What the great man that he is today. He is a great man, by the way. He's got a bit too big now, but I spoke again last week and the week before. He's a great guy. He gives back to the community as well quite a lot. So God bless Tony Gallardi.
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent.
So he's a great guy. So cooking the perfect steak, to be honest, I've seen so many ways. People touching their little finger and then feeling their thumb muscle. It's like, mate, fucking touching your muscle in your thumb. If I touch my wife's muscle in her thumb, it's dead as a doornail. You know what I mean? So this is stupid. It's about the thickness of the steak, the heat of the pan, and time and temperature. That is it. So temperature is very important. Number one key, temperature is very important. So a blue steak, there's only 4 ways to cook a steak: blue, rare, medium, well done. Anybody says medium rare, although that's why I have it, or medium well, there's very few people that are accurate enough to be able to cook it to that 1 or 2 degrees that it is. So blue is around 48 degrees. Rare goes up another couple of degrees, 51, 52, etc. I eat my steaks 53, 54 degrees. That means the internal temperature is 53, 54 degrees. The problem is when searing it on a red hot solid plate, which is what I do, that's over 250 to 300 degrees. So you've got to be careful. And the problem is if you don't rest it correctly, that posh word that we used earlier, myoglobin, which is that red stuff that comes out of meat, will just be forced into the center. So what you have to do, James, for the perfect steak, season well, cook high, turn over, cook great, sit and rest. Rest it for as long as you cook it. That is probably the clue. Rest for as long as you cook.
That was my question, is how long does it cook on? But rest it as long as you cook it is a very simple and manageable pedestrian illustration. That's great,
James. That is it. Key. And turn your steak as well whilst it's resting. Turn it once whilst it's resting. So if you're going to cook it for 6-7 minutes, which would get you up to rare, medium rare, depending on the thickness of the steak, obviously. If you're going to cook it 6-7 minutes, allow it to rest 6-7 minutes. Halfway through it, just turn it. Turn the steak whilst it's sat on your cooling rack. And yes, I know it's going to lose temperature. You don't want to eat something red hot, you fucking lunatic. You'll burn your mouth, your taste buds. Why would you want to do that? If you want to, burn your taste buds by getting an apple turnover from McDonald's. That's fucking shit.
What is your message for people that prefer their steak well done, chef?
Oh, fuck off. Order something else. No, I've got to tell you, I have I've got Gina Reinhardt steak on my. She's got a Wagyu farm out in WA. She's got a Wagyu farm, and it's called 2GR, and it is probably the best beef I've eaten in WA. Probably the best WA beef. We get some great beef over east. I've told you already. O'Connor's phenomenal. Kilcoy is a bit too big at the moment, but there's some good beef over there. Gina Reinhardt's Wagyu Marble Score 5 is just the dog's bollocks, and I mean really, really, really great. But a customer the other day ordered it well done.
What?
The problem is, I know, I like this customer. I like him. He's a good friend of mine. He's a short, fat little guy called Barry. But I went out to him. I said, Barry,
and you like him?
Oh, no, I like him. I invited him to my engagement party to my beautiful missus. So I do like him. But look, he ordered it well done, and it's sacrificial. But all I did was I created a really beautiful crust. So again, going back to that pellicule, you create that crust. That crust, it's again a posh word. We call it the Maillard reaction. And the Maillard reaction, Maillard, the Maillard reaction is when temperature, salt, and myoglobin all hit together, and you get that beautiful crust, and it gives you that, it's called umami. So you get that umami, salty, savory flavor at the back of your throat when you're swallowing it. But it is the greatest, it's the greatest way to eat steak, that Maillard reaction.
Here's an incendiary question for you. Having eaten, pretty much every breed of cattle, and is Wagyu in fact a good steak beef? Because the one version of it that I've enjoyed the most was by a bloke who'd worked for a Chinese family a great deal, and he had a teppanyaki plate, and it was a rump that he cut in quite thin slices, and they hit that plate for about 2 seconds either side, and then had that on a fresh baguette with fresh butter. I've yet to enjoy Wagyu as much as a cut or a steak. Is what is the best, in your opinion, use of Wagyu?
So you, again, hit the nail on the head. Rump, to me, is one of the greatest cuts, but I only use single muscle. So if I buy a whole rump, I will seam butcher it down, take it all down, use the piquant top. The rump cap, to me, is what I serve for my Sunday lunch. It is the best cut in the world for flavor, for texture, for all the rest of it. Fillet steak is pointless. It's just the least used animal muscle, and therefore all these old farts like their fillet steak. Oh, I love fillet steak. It tastes like shit. It's got nothing redeemable about it. It's overcosting, overpriced bullshit. The best cut for me, full stop, is Scotch 100%, or even ribeye. Scotch or ribeye, and they're the two cuts I have on my menu. Yeah. Ribeye because it's on the bone. I love any meat that's on the bone. It's perfect. But Scotch is the perfect cut. Yeah, and again, rested well. That fat that we have in any cut of Scotch is phenomenal. But when you have a Wagyu Scotch, oh my God, you never. It just breaks that whole textural feel once you put it in your mouth. It is unfucking.
How do you cook it, mate? How do you cook? I mean, look, I've never, I'm not one of those flashy blokes that has lots of Wagyu. Like, how do you actually do it? Like, I wouldn't have a clue.
Okay, so I have something called a salt top at work, a heavy griddle. It's like a solid piece of iron at work that is heated up from underneath. If you're doing this at home, you need a heavy cast pan. Put it on until smoking, and then season the steak. It doesn't need to be flashy salt. You can use any. I use pink Himalayan salt. It doesn't fucking matter. You can use normal salt. It doesn't matter. Sodium chloride. Sodium chloride just draws moisture, and that's all it's there for. Make sure that your steak is room temperature if possible. Don't take it out the fridge and put it in the pan, you dick, because it's not going to work. It's going to be freezing cold in the middle, like my ex-wife. So what you do is all right. Not listening to it. I'll be dead. So,
If you'd like to complain about this podcast, dial 434-322-56239, press 9 twice. Sorry, back to you, Chef.
So allow your steak to come to temperature. Season it just before you put it on. Don't season it too early. If you season it too early, the salt will draw out the moisture and leave these spots. You know, it's almost going to semi-cure it, you know, James. If you imagine when we cure something, generally salt it and sugar it, depending on what the seasoning is. But anyway, so salt it. And if you want to use cracked pepper, use cracked pepper. A lot of chefs say don't, because the pepper will burn in your pan. But if that's what you want from the kick, then do it. I personally don't care. I put a little bit of cracked pepper on because I'm serving it with a pepper sauce at the moment, so it matches that. I then sit it down, sits there for 3 minutes. The Wagyu, the fat starts to render almost immediately, and it creates this crust. I'll turn it over for another 3-4 minutes, and then that is it. Take it off, allow it to rest. And I guarantee you, Carwyn, that is the perfect steak.
I'm actually delighted to learn through this process that I've unintentionally, and as a complete Philistine, been doing a couple of things right. Steak, we don't kill enough cattle on the property here to have our own all the time. But IGA for ages, independent grocers, did you could buy a full rump for, I think they're up about $100 now, but it's a really good purchase point. But cut that at about 25 mil, get it on the barbecue grill, not a flat plate. But I salt it as it goes on the plate, turn it over and salt the other side. And I had no idea I was unintentionally doing the right thing. And that I find that as a steak is pretty hard to go past.
It's perfect. And griddle's good. Look, I like griddles. So you can't cook Wagyu on a griddle. If you try to put a piece of Wagyu on a griddle, your kitchen will be on fire before you know it, and you could be calling triple zero. You've just ruined a $40,000 kitchen because you cooked the Wagyu on the griddle. So you can't do Wagyu on that, but I agree with you. I like grill marks on beef. I mean, it got a bit wanky, but I like it because I like that charry bitterness that it gives when you're eating the meat, and that's exactly what. So it's called mouthfeel. When we eat something, we call it mouthfeel. I know it's a wanker chef saying, but that's what it's called. It's called mouthfeel. And then when you eat that, it just allows your mouth to release the moistures from your tongue so that you can taste the meat properly. And that's why we season shit, by the way. That's why we put salt on it. The sodium chloride is a dehydrant, so it draws moisture. So when we put the salt on the product and when we eat it, we can taste it better because the moisture is released from the surface of our tongue. And so not many people know that, by the way.
Can I share something personal?
Sure.
This
is
is
only small.
Please do.
This is from the heart, and it is a little bit upsetting. But as a man, I find it quite intimidating talking to another man who knows how to do fucking crackle. How do you do crackle?
Temperature. I had a whole company, a factory that we used to make it. So it's all about temperature. That's all it's about, crackle. What, are you talking about just crackle on pork skin?
Mate, look, I have...
No glass pipe necessary. Yeah.
I've done everything correctly. So I've removed the skin from the pork. I have poured boiling water over the skin. And I put scores in there, like with a razor blade, so you get those sort of crosshatch marks. And I've put it in an oven, so I've rubbed it with olive oil.
You just fucked up about 6 times, and we're not even there yet. Go on, carry on.
You blokes, you promised you wouldn't laugh. Anyway, so I've done all that stuff.
I'm not laughing. And laughing with you, not at you,
mate. It still comes out terrible. Like I put it in the oven on high heat, and it comes out terrible.
Jesus Christ, Carwyn.
I'm a joke. I'm a joke.
Yeah, you are. Thank God you're good on the radio. You're shit at cooking. Listen.
It's true.
The perfect pork crackle. The problem is, listen, James, you first because I'm far too long.
No, I was traveling down Natchez Trace, a beautiful natural drive through out of Tennessee down to New Orleans. And at one of their roadhouses, if you haven't seen an American roadhouse, that's a whole other thing. But I found a bag of stuff called pork fat with skin attached.
Yes.
And I thought, well, that's got to be good. So got back in the motorhome.
That's
We're
smart.
driving. The mother of my two smallest children took one look at it and said, "You're going to die, and I will not touch that."
But
I
it's
said,
worth
"Right."
it. It's worth it
It
if you
was
die.
one of the best things I've ever eaten in my life, and she eventually weakened to having a mouthful. We had to stop at every roadhouse thereafter to get a bag of it. However they were doing that was they got it just right. But anything called pork fat with skin attached, they're not really thinking about their marketing.
Yeah, they need to bring that into Australia. So Chef, look, once and for all, how do you do crackling?
Okay, listen, there are two ways to do crackling. Number one, don't do whatever you just did. When you score the crackle, first of all, you've got to understand that the skin, the top layer of the skin is called the epidermis. Then you've got the subdermis and hypodermis underneath. The problem is that these fats start to release into the skin. So if you score it, what's going to happen is the fat will come up through the scoring and then sit on there. And your oven, as hard as it wants to work, it's not going to be able to create that lovely crust. And it's the crust that we're looking for. So don't ever put olive oil anywhere near a piece of fucking meat if you're going to put it in an oven. Jesus Christ. Olive oil is a whole new ballgame. Olive oil should only be used for finishing salads and things like that because get the word extra virgin. Do you know what virgin means? Carwyn, you obviously do know what virgin means.
Absolutely, I do.
So extra virgin means it's had nothing taken out of it. So if you imagine all those beautiful flavors, the deep green color or the dark yellowy color, whatever type of olive oil you buy, those beautiful colors come from all the impurities that's in there that give it that complex flavor that we love to have when we're having a fucking avocado salad or some burrata or some tomato or whatever we're having. You know what I mean? That's perfect. You put that on a piece of meat or fish and cook it, you're whacked. And the reason I say that is because those beautiful extra virgin bits will burn like your mother. They will burn, and they will make everything taste bitter and sour. So just don't do it. Use shit canola oil or cheap shit vegetable oil. Rub it over the skin of the pork. Salt it well. Bang it in a hot oven. You can be clever by sitting heavy pans on it with baking parchment and all that lot so that it stays to one level. But just do that. Don't score it. Don't fuck about with it. Oil it, salt it, bang it in the hot oven, and that is it.
I've just got a hypothetical situation here, Chef, I need your help with. Say you're having a barbecue at your house and you know you've got a bunch of vegan people coming over. Mate, how do you make a salad?
You fucking move house. Listen, if a vegan... I've got to say, my beautiful wife that I'm getting married to next month, by the way, Rita, God bless you, she used to be plant, and I'm slightly scared that might get... I'm like, fuck. Look, I mean, Carwyn, hypothetically, fucking shut up. That's not even a question. Let's not talk about vegan.
No, it's just a hypothetical. It would never happen.
It obviously wouldn't happen. How do you make a vegan salad? Oh,
Well, you can't use cheese in it, can you?
Yeah, exactly. So just take all the goodness out of it. Look, you couldn't. Well, you could, but I'm not going to give you any vegan recipes now, Carwyn. That ain't going to happen.
Anyway, we'll talk about this later. Now, you just alluded to it. You were getting married soon? James, do you have any relationship advice for John Mountain?
Here's the thing. My relationship advice is actually very good. It's just not very popular. But it sounds to me as if John knows exactly what he's doing. I think you said Vita, V-I-T-A, John?
Rita, as in Margarita. She's always pissed.
That's a whole heap. Because I was going Italian, but now I have to head over to Spain. So, there is. I can tell you from hard-won personal experience, there is nothing better in the world than being married to the woman you love. It's a vastly maligned institution, but it comes with 1,000,001 absolutely wonderful perks. And I've been asked several times, why do you keep repeating a mistake? I said, not a mistake. I was just practicing and now I'm good. So congratulations, mate. You'll have an absolute she sounds remarkable. And for you to speak so highly of you, because you're obviously someone who doesn't suffer fools gladly. So all the very best.
Thank you, James. I'm massively grateful. She's Indonesian, by the way. And I just said to her this morning, she wanted to wake the kids early to take them to the beach. And she's like, oh, yeah, she's got an Aussie passport back. She's a citizen back. She's not marrying me for that shit. So don't worry. She's not a buy one, get one free. She's been over here for 16 years now. And she woke up this morning and said, come on, let's go get the kids up. I said, yeah, you can do your angry Asian mum. She said, I'm not angry. I'm brutal.
Excellent.
Where's the wedding going to be?
There's only one venue for a wedding, and that's Fire. So May the 19th, we're getting married. You're more than welcome to come, Colin, by the way. I'd love to see you there.
Mate, I would love that.
Great meme during COVID that someone came across the border into Queensland and got in a restaurant late and said, just got across the border. Will they shut the gate? I'm vegan. What can I have? What can I get? And the owner said, fuck. There's a fascinating thing there, John. That would bring a whole new raft of culinary expertise into the family too. Do you enjoy Asian food?
But that's the thing, James. So, look, I'm selling Fire, and it's not because I don't love it, because I do. But once I met Rita, her cooking is phenomenal. But the use of her spices is phenomenal. So if you imagine, I'm just going to steal all her aromats and then blend it with the quality of cooking that I know, because without being rude, I've probably eaten in every Indonesian restaurant here in WA. And I've eaten, the food is fucking phenomenal, but everything else is just wrong. So they've got fluorescent lights and metal tables and shit service. They go, you order food, you'll fucking sit down. I bring it, you'll eat and fuck off. I'm like, oh my God. Shit me, what did she just say to me? So we're going to try and do a culturally westernized Indonesian fusion food, and it's going to be called Roema, Roehma. So it's an Indonesian play on food. The chicken satay, when my missus made the peanut sauce, oh my God, the peanut sauce I've never eaten in life. I marinated over the pan. Phenomenal. It was
drink it straight from the pan. It's really interesting from a producer's point of view too. The thing I love about that whole raft of utilizing, they use everything, and there's a lot to be said for that. We whiteys have really run amok with being disdainful about all the offal cuts and the bits and pieces that make up 10% of the animal. And again, going back to the responsibility you assume when you kill something to eat it, is you need to use everything. I was fortunate enough to work up in Papua New Guinea on a cattle station, and we'd do a kill. There were 140 people on staff there, and we'd kill a 2 or 3 year old dry heifer or a steer, a bullock, and by the time that was cut down on a cement square, no roof, there was no point, it just rained too much. And I'd take that up to the cold room. When I'd come back down to that kill spot, there would be 4 hooves emptied of all the gelatin, 2 horns emptied of all the gelatin, and a neatly folded hide, and that was it. And it's always been a benchmark for use. And we could all go back a step or two. And with your UK background, I mean, a third of the diet there was, for simple steak and kidney, tripe. I can only get tripe in 2 or 3 places, and they're all Asian. So there's a lot to be said. A very responsible diet.
There's nothing more that I get off on than watching my missus eat the head of a beautiful cray that we've cooked, and we've eaten the beautiful parts, and she'll be sucking the eyeballs out, chewing the breast. And she did just the other day. We go to a really great restaurant here in Perth, and she orders chicken feet. It's not on the menu, but there's nothing again that I find more adorable than seeing my wife spit out the knuckles of the chicken feet. It's fucking happy. I love it today. Yesterday for Sunday lunch, I just cooked for a whole fish, put it on the grill, and then that was it. Everybody else is like, oh no, do that. Oh no. She just, oh my, I love it. I love it. She's
James, is that a duck in the background, mate, or a crow? Or
I'm not sure. We've got a couple of crows, and I'm pretty much peace, love, and brown rice to anything with a heartbeat. But those things piss me right off because they're atrocious on lambing, and they'll eat lambs that are half delivered, and anybody that's dealt with them. So we don't have a duck. That's about the only thing we don't have. I'm looking at a heap of lambs and 6 horses and a couple of Jack Russells. They're safe. We don't eat them. But it's pretty much anything on the property is somewhat on the endangered species list. So that crow will probably not be here much longer. But they don't taste good, by repute. I've never eaten one.
This is like, have you seen that movie, Who's Killing the Great Chefs of Europe, John?
No, say that again. What's the movie called?
There's a movie called Who's Killing the Greatest Chefs of Europe, and they do a recipe in there called pressed duck, where they get a duck and they squash it in a big press and then serve it. Apparently it's apparently it's a fucking delicacy.
Oh no, that's been done for years. No, it is called a duck press, and it's what we call in French a jus gras. So jus gras, jus is a sauce, gras is the fat, and so yeah, those duck presses are used in some of the best 2-3-star Michelin restaurants. And when I was fortunate enough to work for Heston Blumenthal, I said to him on the menu, we had something called suffocated duck. And I said to him, what the fuck is that? Suffocated duck. And he said, well, they're coming in tomorrow. You'll see what it is. And sure enough, you know, he would buy brace of ducks. So 2 ducks come in a little cage, a few more duck. And then he would put them in a black plastic bin bag and tie the top. And the duck would be like, wag, 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 the fucking wag, 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 wag.
Oh, no.
Oh, he's fucked in the head. And so he would supplicate. And I said to him, no, I said to him, I said, tell me fucking why? Why? What? and no, yeah, but James, you know, I trust him because I understand the science of food, and so does he very much so. And so it was the adrenaline that was caused in the body gave out a particular chemical reaction through there that caused an engulfment of the livers, and the livers would turn into this almost foie gras. You know, it wasn't quite foie gras because you have to force feed them over time. And this was it. And this is what he used to do. And then what he would do with the bodies, James, he would put them into a fucking big bread mixer with a K-blade on it. So a K-blade that we normally use to mash things up. And he would put the body in there. Everything. I mean, still with the feathers, the whole fucking lot, still with the intestines, and he would break the body down and then roast the fucking thing off to get this jus gras. The guy's mad as a box of frogs, but he fucking knows what he's doing.
We're talking about Chef Heston Blumenthal, and you worked with him. How did that come about?
Oh, I think I'd done something for a magazine called The Caterer and Hotel Keeper or something. It was a magazine in London, and I'd done this. I don't know what it was. I think it was a
press duck.
It was like a consomme for kids, you know, like a kid's consomme. It was a bit fucking stupid. Consomme is just a clever soup that tastes great, looks like this. Anyway, he got in touch with me through an agency, Portfolio International, and they said, oh, this guy called Heston Blumenthal would like you to work for him. I said, well, I don't know who the fuck he is. You know what I mean? And they went, oh, he's got this restaurant called the Fat Duck in Bray. This was 1997. I said, what the fuck, where's Bray? They said, oh, in Aylesbury. So I jumped on the train and went down to see him. And that was it. I sort of fell in love with him in a way, not in a sexual way, more in a food-based way.
Yeah, right.
But it was
right.
He's fucking mental. And I like people that think out of the box, James. And
He thinks out of the box. I mean, he made a pub out of gingerbread.
Gingerbread, yeah. Look, a lot of that was for television, but when you look at his chocolate mousse, you'll have a look at his chocolate mousse recipe. Fucking chocolate and water. It's like, mate, the guy's a genius. He's clever. So he understands and this is what I've learned over the 30 years that I've been cooking. You understand what temperature does to certain products, proteins, eggs, fish, meat. We know how it should be, you know, we know how to get the best out of something.
Right. Now I've got someone turning up.
That's one of the Jack Russells.
Jack pack on attack.
He'll show up in a dinner plate shortly. Where to from here, Chef? Are you going to do your own kitchen show from the kitchen one day at Fire, or what are the plans for you?
Yeah, look, we've been talking about that, and I've been in talks. I've just started writing another new book called Soufflés and Self-Destruction, which is all about, it makes...
Excellent.
Actually, I had a read of that too. It's quite good.
Oh, mate, it's mental. It makes Kitchen Confidential sound like the Beano. It's like so soft and surreal in comparison. So it's it's my life story, and the idea of doing television, books, and radio again is something that I enjoy. I'm getting too old to work 16-hour days anymore. It's too hard.
Yeah,
Fucking life's too hard.
Huge amount of work.
One of the things I got about your book is that there was a point where you got off the booze. What's that done for you?
Well, I've become much calmer, and I've followed Jesus. Get fucked. I think I'm even worse now. I've been sober for 25 years now. So no alcohol, 25 years. I don't smoke cigarettes. I don't do drugs. So no caffeine. Just a miserable bastard. I think the thing is now, Arwen and James, I think sobriety makes me know that I've got a clear head every day. I still make stupid ass decisions. I ride motorbikes and I've got a Maloo R8, so I'm still a dickhead.
That's good news.
But that's it. I love life though now. I wake up early in the morning, feel fresh. I'd never have a hangover. But yeah, when I'm miserable, I'm fucking miserable. That's it.
There you go, John. Just approaching 2 years sober, having drunk from 14 to 58, and you can always say, "I wish I'd done it 10 years earlier," but you just don't know. But everything you've just said are the benefits and the it is really a before and after thing. But you have to know both sides of the coin to appreciate that. That's a big thing. I share your love of motorcycles too. I thought you might enjoy the fact that I still cook on a slow combustion stove here, John. And the first thing I learned to cook on it was my English mother actually made chocolate eclairs, proper choux pastry, the whole thing in a slow combustion oven in southeastern Queensland, which is nothing short of a miraculous feat.
Well, cooking the choux pastry is really difficult because that is an eye. It's done by eye. When you make your roux, first of all, so it's simply, butter and flour, cooking that through, and then it's adding the eggs, and it's how scary do you go with the eggs? And that's the skill of a proper choux paste. But it's an art in itself. So far as pastry is concerned, I'm shit because you've got to be accurate. You've got to really be accurate. So I make all the desserts at work, but it's not through accuracy because I've made them that many times that I know what it looks like. And so that's it. I know when the Sabayon's perfect. I know when a Swiss meringue is perfect or an Italian meringue is perfect. But I'm no pastry chef, but it's an art in itself, but well done. Is that like an Arga? Have you got like an Arga, the slow combustion oven?
It's a Rayburn, but the poor country cousin of an Arga. But I tried to get Dad to take it out of the kitchen because Mum would still do, traditional roast all the time. And in summer, she'd put a leg of lamb on at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It'd be 38 degrees outside and 51 in the kitchen. And I said to the old man, "We're going to have to get this thing, turn it off during the summer and put a gas." And he said, "When that slow combustion stove leaves the house, so do I." And back then I thought, you intractable old bastard. I'm totally with him now. I absolutely love that thing.
I get it. I'm with you, James, all the way. I wish my house was similar, but that is it. They're the greatest things in the world to cook on. So you get a piece of pork belly in there for 16 hours, then turn it over and press it. I'll be round for lunch.
I'll send you a photo when I do that.
Well, we better wrap it up, boys. This is No Drama Farmer. Thanks to Bokeman Machinery. If you're interested in Case IH or New Holland, make sure you get in touch with Bokeman Machinery. My name is Carwin. We're joined by Chef John Mountain from Fire and also James Blundell. Chef, thanks very much for giving us your time today and teaching us how to cook a perfect steak. And also crackling, mate, I still don't understand. I'm just... Yeah.
No, I'll talk you through it, mate. I was taking notes, and we don't have a legal department yet, but we'll get one of those together and
you'll probably need one.
Rewind all this.
Got a funny feeling we might have to get one.
It's been an absolute pleasure, John. You totally live up to your warning sticker.
No Drama Farmer with James Blundell and Cohen. Thanks to Boakman Machinery, home to New Holland and Case IH. Check out boakmans.com.au.